Welcome to the Today's Leader podcast. Building tomorrow's best leaders, today.
Way to go, guys. Way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul, I see you. All right, John, let's finish. Show us. Coach Cole.
Great job, guys.
Hey there, it's Coach Cole here, and welcome to episode 424 of the Today's Leader podcast, Building Tomorrow's Best Leaders Today. Now, in our episode today, we learn from Daniel Alfon, the author of Build a LinkedIn Profile for Business Success, where we will take you on a journey through debunking the myths around LinkedIn. So where does our conversation take us? Well, we discuss treating your profile like a website. We find out the importance of the headline and how to change it from the default. Too many people use the default settings on LinkedIn, and there is some powerful tweaks and customizations that can help you achieve greater success. Also, having a clear call to action for your target audience. Most of us have probably never heard of doing that on your LinkedIn profile. And also we find out from Daniel why it's not wise to be accepting every connection request that comes your way, and so much more. The conversation just debunks so much of what we think and feel about LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a variety of uses, of course: client attraction, building influence, business growth, just to name a couple. And leaders everywhere are encouraged to build their personal brand through LinkedIn. And today's episode will show you how. Daniel has trained thousands of people on LinkedIn, and today's episode will clearly show you the reason why. After a word from our sponsor, please welcome Daniel Alfon to the podcast.
The podcast is brought to you by Think and Grow Business, the home of the Think and Grow Business Mastermind. If you're serious about growing your business, get serious and join a mastermind group today. Find out more at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au.
And it's my pleasure to welcome to the Today's Leader podcast, Building Tomorrow's Best Leaders Today. Please welcome Daniel Alfon. How are you, Daniel?
Thank you very much, Tony. I'm great. I'm glad to be part of today's Leader Show.
Yeah, and you've written a book. It's called Build a LinkedIn Profile for Business Success, and you were one of the, early instigators of using LinkedIn, or being able to map your way through using LinkedIn to create more clients, build more connections. So share a little bit about the Daniel Alfon story and how you became known as the LinkedIn expert.
With pleasure. So Tony, can I ask you a question first?
Go for it, yes.
Do you think that most of our listeners get regular revenues and leads from LinkedIn?
Based on my experience, I'd probably say no, Daniel.
Cool. So my story is this. I started using LinkedIn early in 2004, and I simply used it to, I was in sales, and LinkedIn enabled me back at the time to identify the name of the person I needed to reach out to and to simply reduce my sales cycle. And after seeing the power of the platform, LinkedIn has close to 820 million users, and every second 2 people sign up. At one point I decided that this should be my focus, and I'm helping entrepreneurs and consultants and coaches leverage it to the best of their abilities. It's a very, very powerful tool, but it's not very user-friendly.
It's a powerful tool, that's for sure, and it's probably an underutilized tool for a lot of entrepreneurs, coaches like myself, but even career orientated leaders, those that are forging out a corporate path, probably don't fully understand the power that LinkedIn can do for them. So let's dissect a little bit of what a LinkedIn page could look like. So I'm looking at a LinkedIn page in my mind, and I'm seeing there's a cover image up the top. How important is something like the cover image, and what should it do for the people visiting your profile?
It's an excellent question because this is, Tony, the first thing that we see when we visit your profile. So when I visit your profile, it says Tony Curl, improving the performance of leaders in business. That takes me a second to understand. And now, if I'm in business and if I'm interested in improving my performance, then I get an incentive for actually reading this. So I would advise our audience here to upload a banner, and it's very simple. Most of what you need doesn't cost you anything. It may take you a couple of minutes to design one, but it's very powerful, and you can tweak it and change it as you go. And one of the examples you mentioned was maybe people who have worked in corporations, and then maybe when they're 40, they become consultants.
Yep.
Then those people can show through LinkedIn the new direction they're pivoting into. And as you know, whenever we run a search for someone's name on Google, LinkedIn comes as one of the very top results.
Okay. So what? So we've mapped through the cover image. We then come to, I guess, the name, and is it called the headline? That little bit that goes in underneath the name. Now the default is your current position, I believe. Is that correct?
You're absolutely right. Yes, it's called a headline, and by default, it's our current position. You can tweak it. The headline is probably the most important or the most expensive real estate in our profile, because that when we run a search, we next to your name we only see this. So I would advise our audience here to tweak their headline so it gives we're more than our latest position. Okay, when I visit again your profile, the headline says improving the performance of people in business. That's the first thing I see, and then there are very strong elements. This is more important to me than the name of your company. No offense.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So you should have a headline. So Daniel, tell me, why don't people do this?
Many people simply visit LinkedIn when they have a certain need, when they're looking for a job, or when they're looking for something else. And
Yeah.
when you familiarize yourself with the platform simply by running a search and visiting 20 other profiles, you will see all sorts of variants, all sorts of examples. Some of those examples could inspire you into getting the idea from one person and then tweaking it obviously for your audience, for your own business. And LinkedIn's default are rarely the ones that should be followed blindly.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine the default is what most people just end up with. And,
You're absolutely right.
Daniel, I remember when I was in the corporate space, and I wasn't really on LinkedIn until about, I'd say 2011. I had a profile. I knew a little bit about it, but I really wasn't doing anything with it. And then the company I joined at that particular time, everyone was into LinkedIn, but it wasn't for lead generation. It wasn't for business opportunities. It was for career opportunities. People saw it as a place where they could be seen by potential headhunters or recruiters. Is that still the case?
Yes, and in the simple way to think about it is LinkedIn can achieve whatever you, Tony, or any listener can want to achieve. So if you're interested in promotion or being headhunted, then plan or craft your profile in a way that will attract your next hiring manager or the recruiter or the headhunters. And if you're interested in leads and business, then think of your own profile not as a CV, but as a website that needs to convert your ideal reader, like a leader who wants to improve their performance or to bring you up to train their team. That information should be the first thing they see when they visit your own profile.
Excellent, excellent. So treat it like a website. So you're looking at conversion, but I guess also but part of me thinking at the moment, Daniel, you still got to get traffic to it. It's like a website, A website
Yeah.
can be the most beautiful website in the world, but if no one's going there, it's going to be pointless. So let's talk about some of those strategies then that can help people get traffic to your profile.
Excellent. I would just advise people to build a strong profile first before attracting anyone to it, because otherwise, no one will visit your profile and say, okay, that doesn't look interesting, but I'll make a note and in 3 months I'll revisit it. So it's important not to accept invitations and not to send invitations before your own profile does the trick of conversion. Now, there are a number of ways to attract people to your profile. One is to link to your own profile on your website, at the signature of your email, and on your Twitter account. Whatever will make people aware of what you have is one place to have the link to your own profile.
Yeah.
The more active, Tony, you are on LinkedIn, the more people are going to visit your profile. Every single action you perform publicly, every comment you post, every share you're doing, every action you perform on a LinkedIn group, or every profile you visit publicly. And that's a very simple tweak. You don't need to pay LinkedIn to view who's viewed your profile.
Yeah.
You just need to be public.
Yeah.
And visiting your ideal readers' profiles is an excellent way of getting a high viewback rate. And then some of those people will visit your own profile. Some of them may extend an invitation request. Some of them may visit your website. Some are likely to convert. So I agree. Don't wait for people to visit your profile. You need to be proactive about it.
Gotcha. So what sort of content? Let's talk a little bit about content. What sort of, and you mentioned commenting and liking posts that are on the feed. Walk me through what you're doing with that. So, because a lot of people that I know that I work with are probably saying they don't see the benefit of it, or they don't know what to comment, or you see a lot of people with the generic default. Someone's just changed jobs, so all of a sudden it ends up with about 20 comments by 20 people, all saying, "Congrats, Don." So what should you let's first talk about comments. So what sort of comments should you be putting onto posts?
It's an excellent question, and I don't think you need to comment that much. I'll start with this. Okay, maybe
Okay.
let's get back to basics. There was a Vimeo video I watched where you said that today's leader is not trying to outperform in every area, just the key ones that deliver the greatest value. So commenting is something you can do without. If there's like once a week, once a month, there's something you feel compelled to comment on in a meaningful way, then do it. But don't do it just to try to game the algorithm or gain traffic, because it doesn't provide that to you. Because if people are starting to thinking that whenever you comment something, it's not interesting for them, they will become blind to things you do. So you don't have to be very public on LinkedIn. And in terms of sharing something once a month consistently may bring you more traffic and more leads than doing it 3 times a week, because most people don't have the time to do it, and frankly we don't have that much content that is educational for our audience. So you don't have to go over the top. Just do it whenever you have a very compelling piece of advice, a news item you've read, something you think would be educational for your audience. Then sharing that and commenting about it is the best way to perform.
Okay. That's very interesting. One of the and from a personal experience, I posted a comment probably a number of years ago, and it was about a HR article around tattoos in the workplace. And my comment, I just felt compelled at the time to put in a comment. I've forgotten what the comment was. Something
You
along the
may,
lines that tattoos don't necessarily mark the the quality of the person. So, and I think it was about the design and quality of tattoos. I don't know, but that comment was like liked by 7,000 people or something, and then there was additional comments and people were sharing my comment, and I'm just going, what? So every now and again it just kicks in, and you just go, and there's no rhyme or reason behind it. It just seems weird.
You're making today's leaders go and hunt down that comment you made years ago.
Please do, please do. Give it some new life. Give it some new life. But I guess this is what people get very confused about LinkedIn. Sometimes a piece of content works. Sometimes I'll share a video. We do little snippets out of the Today's Leader podcast, and we put it on. Sometimes I'll get hundreds of views. Other times there might be crickets. It's sitting out there by itself doing nothing. So is there a magic formula to content, or is it just timely and relevant, the stuff that works?
You know the answer. There's no silver bullet here. It depends on a number of criteria. Some of them we control, some of them are out of our own control.
Yeah.
Whenever you share a video or any link that's external to LinkedIn, then LinkedIn does not want many people to leave the LinkedIn platform and visit it. So that means that most of your connections, Tony, will not be able to actually see it.
Yeah.
One common workaround around this is to simply share an image, say a screenshot with a quote from the podcast, and then adding as a comment the link.
Yeah.
And maybe down the road, editing the original post so the link is there. And another thing to remember is that if many people comment and like that link in the first 60 to 220 minutes, then the LinkedIn algorithm starts to perceive that content as potentially viral, if you like.
Yeah.
And then it is viewed by many more people. And lastly, try to share when your audience is in front of their laptop. So working hours. If you're in Brisbane, then Brisbane working hours. If you're in Phoenix, Arizona, then those working hours, Monday to Friday, are best in most cases.
What about connection requests? Let's talk about connection requests, because I'm probably not the only person out there that gets annoyed with them at times, especially when you see someone connect and then they're doing the cold call straight away as soon as you've checked it out. Now I'm presuming that's probably the wrong way to connect. So talk me through. So lead generation's incredibly important, and LinkedIn is a platform that allows for lead generation. So walk me through some of what you understand to be a best way to connect with potential leads and customers.
Excellent. So in my book, a customer is more important than a connection. And that means I'm not chasing connections. My metrics are real life metrics, inquiries, downloads, demos, something that will translate into business. And there are simply two ways to look at it, Tony. One is to go for quantity and exposure. And the second is going for quality and trust. What does that mean? Exposure means that if you have 30K, if you have 30,000 connections, then whenever you post that today's leaders video, many people are going to see it.
Yeah.
The downside is that you no longer know most of those people.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you connect only with people you know well, maybe you'll have 200, maybe you'll have 600, maybe you'll have 1200, doesn't matter. Whenever you run a search and you find an interesting prospect and you see mutual connections, then Tony, you know who those people are. And that means you can gain a meaningful introduction to those people. And referrals, in my business, referrals is responsible for almost all the clients I've had in over a decade. So I picked that approach. And lastly, whenever you get an invitation and you're not sure, what people could do on desktop is go to my network, second from left, And then where it says invitation and see all, when they click on see all on the top right,
Yeah.
the word message will appear here. So I could actually message anyone who sent me the invitation without accepting their invitation. And what could that message look like? Thank you very much, Jane Doe, for sending that connection request. I don't remember having worked with you. Could I be of help to you or XYZ Corp? So try to elicit or understand if there is anything meaningful, and if that person replies and say, "Yeah, Tony, I would like you to coach our team," then reply to that message just like you're replying to any other inquiry.
Yeah.
And maybe down the road you'll also accept the invitation. But simply accepting the invitation because you think they're likely to order anything from you, that doesn't happen in real life, I'm afraid.
Mate, that is a fantastic tip because from a personal perspective, it's you either accept the tip or the connection or you don't. And that's the choice. And now that you've provided me at least, and I'm sure the listeners at least, with a third choice, send them a message and away we go. Get a conversation going. How cool is that? What else? So there's a lot of myths around LinkedIn. You know, I know a number of marketers that say, you know, I'm going to teach you how to use LinkedIn and I'm going to market you. And, you know, people actually run it as a business too, I guess, as well. So what are some of the myths around that exist with LinkedIn?
There's so many myths. We can't we can use just one show, but I think the strongest thing to remember is that when a leader wants to leverage the LinkedIn platform, the leader does not have to adopt a second personality just for the sake of LinkedIn.
Okay.
And what do I mean by that? If you're an extrovert by nature, and if you like to have to share many things and to perform lots of things on social media and LinkedIn, then there's a way for you to generate leads through that system. But if some of our listeners are excellent leaders, but they're not extrovert, they perform in real life in a different way, there's a fine, authentic way to act like that on LinkedIn and gain leads and trust and revenues. You don't have to become someone else. You already have a personality.
Yeah.
That personality needs to be shown on LinkedIn, because what would happen if you performed things that let's say I've known you for 5 years, and you're doing something about the tattoo, and I look at it and I say that doesn't look like Tony. Then you haven't really achieved anything. You need to think of 3 quick questions. 1, are you happy with performing that action?
Yeah.
Are you happy with commenting? Are you happy with sharing? Are you happy with accepting that invitation request? That's the first test. The second, people who know you well, are they going to be surprised by that action? Or will they know and say, yes, that's Tony. That's the terms he would use. That's the way he would phrase the question. And obviously that's better. And
Yeah.
the third and toughest test is the prospect you'd like to attract and knows nothing about you, or the headhunter or the hiring manager you'd like to be headhunted by and doesn't know you by name. When they see that action, are they going to feel compelled to reach out to Tony Curl or whoever performed that action? So first you, then your network, then the most important person you want to attract to you. If you run by those 3 tests, some of our listeners will go that route, other will perform other things, but they need to be aligned. The way you use LinkedIn needs to be aligned with your own real life existing personality.
So being authentic and not trying to be someone that you're not is once again just some great tips. That's now someone like myself, I've got my business and you've got your business, and then so we've got this. I suppose the final aspect that I just want to explore with you, Daniel, is we've got personal profiles, we've got company profiles, we've got showcase pages, and then we've also got groups.
Yes.
So Now, everyone that I that I'm sort of connected with don't have a lot of input into LinkedIn groups. So I think from a personal aspect, there was a number of groups probably 5 years ago that I was heavily involved in, and that were engaged and really really good. And then there were some fundamental changes or shifts within them that sort of with the technology or with policies that sort of changed them. So what's really important for someone to nail? Is it the company page? Is it the personal profile? Is it interaction in groups? Or is it a combination of all of that?
Okay, excellent questions, all of them. Let me try and mention some of them, like you said. First, I'd like our audience here to understand that their own individual profile is far more important than the page.
Yeah.
Unless you employ thousands of employees, then consider the LinkedIn page, the company page, as a static page.
Okay.
You'll have very few followers on your company page when you're a consultant, when you're a small or medium-sized business. When you have 50 people on your staff, the page does not need to be that active and nothing will happen through the page. It's the staff that needs to leverage their own individual profiles.
Gotcha.
And another difference is that the page can only share things, and when you connect with someone on an individual basis, then for the first time you gain access to their email address. Whereas if I follow today's leaders, then you'll have no information about me other than my LinkedIn links. So meaningful things happen when you connect on a personal level, and most of our listeners don't follow many company pages. The natural action is not to follow a company page.
Gotcha.
If we revert to the groups, the moment LinkedIn decided to stop sending group email digests to group members, turned the groups to some ghost towns, but I think it has become an underutilized asset on LinkedIn if you do it smartly.
Yeah.
So instead of just trying to find the largest group and be active there, it's not realistic. There's stiff competition there. What you could do is find small groups, even groups with 200 or 500 people who are your exact audience.
Yeah.
When you join that group, without sharing anything publicly on the group, it enables you to view, once you're accepted into the group, 200 people who could be your ideal clients. And then the way you reach out to them does not have to happen on the group. You could message them, you could visit your website, you could ask someone for an introduction. Just use the group as a way to show you excellent prospect, 10 of them, 20 of them, 50 of them, without sharing publicly anything on that group.
Yeah. Sounds great. Great advice. I'm going to take up some of your advice, Daniel, and I'm sure many of our listeners will be doing the same. So, final tips on LinkedIn. If there was one thing that you want people listening to this to do, what would that be?
So I'll suggest a simple framework. Two questions. One, who's your ideal reader? And two, what action would you like that person to perform after they visit your profile?
Gotcha.
And if you decide that your ideal reader is an executive that needs to do X, Y, or Z, and you'd like them to reach out to you, then have you provided them with the information that is likely to convert them into visiting your profile or subscribing or messaging you or doing what you'd like? And in many cases, there's a gap, there's a disconnect. And I think your profile should speak for itself.
Yeah.
If I visit your profile and you tell me, you know what, Daniel, it says XYZ, but I'd like you to know other things, then it doesn't care. It's not likely to convert. And when the leaders know what they're interested in, then aligning their LinkedIn presence with that is simple and easy. You know, the minute you change it, the world can see that way. You don't need. It's not like SEO where it will take you maybe months to change it. It's literally minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. Thank you so much, Daniel. So, who's inspired you in your journey to where you are today?
Maybe it's not very original, but my family originally is the single strongest element I look up to. My wife, increasingly our children, and
Yep.
initially my parents.
Okay.
My dad was an entrepreneur. He moved from North Africa to France to Israel, and he struggled with language and culture, and I learned from him how to be resilient. And from my mom, I understood the importance of connecting immediately with people. That could be top executives or janitors. It didn't matter. And my wife is a social worker, and she helps teens and drug addicts to kick to stop using drugs. And I couldn't do what I could never do what she does on in one day. And our kids are increasingly inspirational when I see their own journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Great answer. What about failure? Tell me about your relationship with the dreaded word failure.
I wouldn't dread failure because I think we grow from failures. We don't like it, obviously. No one would pick failure, but I think that looking back on my journey, without the failures, I don't think I would be where I am today.
Okay.
So you need to do anything you can to avoid failure, but once it happens, if you miss the lessons from the failure, then you haven't acted in a very smart way. There's a reason why we fail. And sometimes it's up to us, and sometimes you could not change the course of things. And just
Yeah.
accepting what is yours and what is someone else's is a humble way to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the vision for you moving forward?
I like what I do today, and I think that if leadership is important for our audience here, then the next step could be try to access the free 10-day leadership course that's found on todaysleader.com.au, and gain more knowledge about it simply by asking yourself about your journey as a leader
Yeah.
will help you become a better leader.
Excellent. And the goals and ambitions that you have in what you do, Daniel, what does that look like? So where do you want to take, your LinkedIn expertise and your consulting?
Helping entrepreneurs, especially 40 plus entrepreneurs who've been in the corporate world and are starting on your own,
Yep.
is probably the single best outcome that I have from LinkedIn. And compared with young entrepreneurs, if you've worked in a companies for 10, 15, 20 years, even if you haven't used LinkedIn that much, like you said,
Yep.
you still have a network of people you worked with, and those people could refer clients to you in your new journey. So it's easier to leverage the LinkedIn platform when you leave the corporate world and start on your own than it would be for a 22-year-old kid who's just out of college and has
Yeah.
no real life network.
Very much so. So how can people connect with you, Daniel? Obviously LinkedIn.
You can try. Daniel Alfon is the best way to start. I have
Yeah.
articles there, and you mentioned the importance of the headline. So on my website, there's a way to book a one-on-one call, and also a cheat sheet, a giveaway that enables you to tweak your headline. And I think it's likely to gain more recognition, more exposure, and more conversion than sticking with the default headline that LinkedIn offers.
Great advice. Great advice. Daniel, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today Thank you so much for investing your time in today's leaders.
Tony, thank you very much, and I'm glad we spoke, and I'm glad for the conversation. Thank you very much.
And now, it's time for Tony's 2 cents.
There are some really poor behaviors that we see on LinkedIn. Some really poor behaviors. Sending unprompted solicitation for business, sales requests, pictures. You might even call some of it spam. We see pictures that we just immediately do not trust. Do not trust. It can be a real nightmare navigating LinkedIn. There's nothing more annoying than receiving a connection request, and the minute we say yes, we get hit with a sales pitch. Nothing more annoying. Or finding ourselves suddenly on a mailing list of that particular connection or their company. Very annoying habits that people do on LinkedIn. And it's really not the way to build business. It's not the way to build trust. And it's not it can never be seen as ethical behavior. LinkedIn is a great tool. We know that. When used effectively and ethically. And I hope today that Daniel has provided you with some strategies to help you grow your business, your leadership, career success by the power of LinkedIn. Thanks again to Daniel for investing in today's leaders. And of course, his links are in the show notes. If you're looking to build better leadership skills, check out the Today's Leader website at todaysleader.com.au. We really are driving a leadership revolution to build tomorrow's best leaders today. Today's Leader is a collective, the mindset to make a difference, the ability to create an impact. Think and Grow Business hosts our Today's Leader Mastermind. Think and Grow Business, where we focus on personal, professional, and business growth. Book your free 30-minute discovery call right from the homepage at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au. Don't forget, wherever you are standing stronger, braver, and wiser. Don't forget the golden rule. Don't be an arsehole. I'll see you all again next week. Bye for now.